don't care. I stand by what I believe in, and I believe in what I say. And I'm a firm believer that these core values that I hold dear and near to my heart are being demonized and destroyed in this once free nation. And I'm not about to bend or buckle or fold just so I can gain some hierarchy status of being worthy of sitting in a restaurant full of vaccinated people that can still contract and spread this virus. I have not once let this fucking pandemic actually rule my life. I have lived it, and I have tried to live as normally as possible despite all these restrictions and mandates. And some of you might think I'm one of those COVIDiots. Those, I don't follow the science people, we're just stupid conspiracy theorists. But that's okay. I think you guys are all a part of the Dr. Fauci cult. And you listen to anything that comes out of that man's mouth, even if it's the exact opposite of what he said last week. But here's the thing. People like me have consistently been saying the same shit this whole time. And guess what? We're right. In Canada, they're talking about booster shots now in BC. Okay, booster shots. You will never be fully vaccinated. Once you have done one booster shot, it's on to the next. And trust me, those of you who are only going to get the 2 vaccines, because why do you need a booster? You're going to fall under the unvaccinated category very fast. Very fast. Unless you comply. And what has compliance gotten us so far? What has it gotten? We've saved lives? Have we? Have we really saved lives? The rate in teen attempted suicide and mental health problems have skyrocketed. The opioid crisis has doubled in Canada, okay? We have domestic abuse and disturbances. We have neglected cancer treatments and stuff like that going on. We actually have an increase in sicknesses that weren't problems before COVID, that aren't actually from COVID, but a direct correlation from the lockdowns and the restrictions and the shutdowns. And then they promised us this vaccine and told us herd immunity was going to be 60%? Now we're at 85%. Now it's everybody must be jabbed because I have to be vaccinated to protect the person from across the street from me, or my neighbor, or my grandma, or my grandpa. And here's the thing. How many old people, while protecting them, did we just let sit and die alone? And these people, these old people, you know what? I'm pretty fucking damn sure if they were told they had 5 days to live, they would want to spend them with their family instead of spending 5 months alone until they died. They took away our freedom of choice in so many ways that it numbed you all to this one, the vaccine. How many people do you know of that died of terminal cancer and they couldn't see their friends or loved ones before they passed, and it was over a Zoom fucking call? This is going to be my second Christmas without my mom. I'm going to be alone again, which is fine, but Christmas means a lot to my mom. And because of all of this shit and the false narrative and the fear-mongering and propaganda bullshit, if I'm not vaccinated, I can't go there, which is fine. That's her beliefs. Those are her fears. But she's fucking vaccinated. Aren't you protected? I just don't understand how, if you're vaccinated, you know you're not fully protected. Nothing's 100%. So everybody else has to offer up their arms so they have the same outcome. When my outcome is no different than yours, basically. And then I have not been sick. I've not had COVID. Maybe I had it. Maybe I didn't have any symptoms, and now I have antibodies. And why are we ignoring that? Why are we ignoring natural immunity? Anything natural is far more strong and robust and better for you than the synthetic version. Chickenpox, my generation, for example, and I use this one like a broken fucking record. Chickenpox. You caught it once, so you had lifelong immunity, and guess what? You don't get it again. And if you do get a breakthrough case, it is super fucking rare to get chickenpox twice. Just like it's super fucking rare to get COVID twice. But you want to know what's not rare? And it's actually becoming more common? Myocarditis. Women having seizures and epileptic issues and reproductive and so on and so forth issues. I've seen a lot more of those problems firsthand than I've seen anybody die from COVID. And I know some people are going to be like, I had an uncle or I had an aunt or I know somebody from work. And I'm sorry, that is really sad. But what was their state of health prior? A lot of these died from COVIDs or died with COVID. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news and I hate to be so blunt, but a lot of these COVID deaths, if they caught the flu or pneumonia last year, they probably would have died as well. And don't get me started on the government's withholding treatments that do work, that do in some cases have 100% effectiveness, and the doctors that risk losing their licenses and now have been demonized? Why do you trust a doctor that's paid by the government to stand in front of a camera and read off a script more than a doctor that is willing to risk their medical license to help people? It is not malpractice to prescribe a drug not for its intended use. It's actually very common. There's a lot of common things we have let this pandemic wash our minds from and make us think aren't normal just because the media told you 50,000 times in a month it was so. And you want to know why things like ivermectin weren't endorsed by the media? Because the media is sponsored by companies like Pfizer and Moderna. And ivermectin's like 30 cents a dose, if that. I think it's actually cheaper. And it doesn't make the Gateses of the world billions of dollars if you take that drug. And ivermectin apparently is unsafe. However, a drug that is not properly FDA approved, that has never been approved in human use up until this fucking pandemic, is more of a viable and ethical option. And now they want to vaccinate the 5 to 11-year-olds, an age group and category that has close to 0% deaths. It is closer to 0% deaths than it is 1% deaths. I don't think you people understand that if we don't know the long-term effects of this drug or this therapeutic, whatever you want to call this mRNA thing, whatever technicality you have it under, by vaccinating this much of a population and not knowing the long-term effects, that is so horrifying. And people are willing to do this to their children who have a full life to live. A full fucking life to live still. It's one thing if you're an adult and you personally made that choice and you weren't forced or coerced into it. But to deny children a childhood over something that doesn't affect them, and then force them into an experimental vaccine with no long-term studies, is horrifying. We don't know the outcome of this. We don't know if their reproductive health is going to be okay. We don't know if those boys' hearts are going to go back to normal. We don't know if those girls are going to stop seizuring. We don't know if those women are going to ever have a normal period cycle again. There's a lot of things we don't know. And the way society has demonized people like myself over our freedom to choose, and the way the government and the media portray it and perpetuate it onto all of us, is disgusting, and it's sad. I don't know anybody that was like super afraid of the flu after their flu shot. I don't know anybody that was super afraid of the chicken pox after catching chicken pox. You all want to compare this to, you've been vaccinated with everything else. So if you weren't afraid of measles, chicken pox, the flu after those vaccines, why are you afraid of this one now? Is it because part of you knows that it doesn't work the way they told you it would work? Are you angry, so therefore you want everybody else to go through what you had to go through? At the end of the day, life has risks. We can't be afraid of everything. You can't put your life on hold because you're afraid to die, because you're not even living. I really don't understand the need to want to live so much you're gonna not live in the first place. It's sad. There's a generation of children that are not going to have proper social and emotional development. What the fuck is that going to cause? There's a study, and I wish I could cite it right now, but I was reading up on it a few weeks ago. But in the United States of America, they did a study. And basically, in layman's terms, and I might be botching the terminology a little bit here, but babies at the age of 2 have a certain IQ level on average, okay? That IQ level is basically derived from their human interactions and the stimulus they get and everything in between, okay? So imagine not seeing a face leaving your home, not reading lips as a baby. There's so many important things for their mental, emotional, and social development that comes from looking at a human face and seeing multiple of them. It's not even funny. COVID babies on average are a few IQ points above mentally handicapped. Let's be honest. They're not developing properly. Okay, so you have a generation of babies, and I don't know how many more are going to be born with this problem, but this is horrifying, that aren't going to have the ability to understand social cues, human emotions, and their intelligence level. We don't know how well that's going to develop now either. There are so many factors here other than the fact somebody could catch COVID and die if they're old, obese, or already really sick. Okay? If we put a website up and did a tally of every time somebody died in a car, a lot of you would never drive again. Do you not understand that they've created a global phobia? And the pre-phobic people, I don't even know if that's a proper term, but the people who are already predisposed to being afraid of silly things are the ones yelling at people like me in stores who don't wear masks. It's validated their fear of the world and it's given them a pedestal to stand on to perpetuate that onto others. And a lot of you, I know damn well, aren't afraid, but you don't want to be bothered, so you cave. And I know a lot of you were afraid of losing your jobs and your livelihoods, so you caved even though it was against your moral fiber. You caved because you were worried about seeing your children. You caved because of all of these things. And that is really fucked up that in a free society our government did that to us. I don't understand why people don't think about these kinds of things and why they are okay with it, or why you're afraid to speak up about it. You need to. If people don't speak up and out about their concerns, which are valid, any questions you have about this narrative, that is a completely valid thing. Any question you have about the science and this vaccine, that is a completely valid thing. There's a lot of things in the beginning that they told us were a crazy right-wing conspiracy theory, like the lab leak theory, that have now basically been proven to be true. And a series of covered up emails thanks to the Freedom of Information Act showing that the main guy in charge here, Dr. Fauci, that motherfucker, covered his own fucking trail while standing up on the world stage and basically being the dictator to every other G7, G20 country's fucking decisions. As a Canadian, I know damn well that we based a lot of our stuff off the beginning off of the CDC and Dr. Fauci, okay? And the man's a goddamn fucking liar. He's a fucking liar, and he fucking is the sole cause and reason as to why this happened. His gain of function research and the Wuhan lab and his admiration and willingness to work with the CCP's fucking medical fucking virologists, okay? The Canadian government isn't innocent in all of this as well. We developed the nanoparticle fluid stuff. I don't remember exactly what it is, but we developed a key component to this vaccine that is part of the delivery system. And you want to know a guy who sees his bank account increase every fucking time one of us gets jabbed here in Canada? Trudy, Justin Trudeau, Castro Jr. The lockdowns prevented small businesses from ever being to reopen again. Okay? A lot of small businesses will never ever see their lights on again. And the ones that stay remaining have to abide by government mandates and expectations and restrictions just to stay afloat. And then they take the people like me who are more than willing and not afraid to go out and eat, and they say you can't go there, therefore restricting how many customers they can actually have. And during this whole pandemic, it was safe for us to go to Costco, but I can't go buy my meat from a butcher. It's safe for us to stand in line at an airport, but I can't get my hair cut. It's safe to be in a room full of people as long as you're 6 feet apart, but not two people in a room getting their nails done. This was a redistribution of wealth. Millionaires became billionaires and billionaires became trillionaires. More people now are on government-funded money and now have to adhere and abide by their rules. They have us under a crony fascist corporate regime right now. And the only reason why we're being told certain narratives is because these NGOs that our world leaders go to, and our philanthropists and everybody that funds all these organizations that are apparently about world health and world this and world that, those are the very motherfuckers that buy out our politicians and why they flip-flop. This isn't right. Just because the TV told you so doesn't mean it's true. You can't stop living just because you're afraid to die.